Rob Demovsky
This better be a great segment.
on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy.
For the real hard-hitting intellectual insight on the Green Bay Packers, which we know we cannot provide, we go to Rob Demovsky. Good morning, Rob. How are you doing today?
Well, it's a beautiful day in Jacksonville, but I can't wait to get out of here.
Okay. All right. How should fans look at yesterday's win? Again, we're trying to separate, we're trying to split the pie a little bit here. On one hand, great that they got the win. The moves that Brian Gutekunst has made over the last year or so are paying off. McManus splits the uprights again yesterday for a game-winning field goal. And yet, the cloud that is hanging over, I think today and potentially some of this week, is the injury to Jordan Love. And you would like for your team to be able to go full strength when they face the top team in the division next week in the Lions.
Yeah, clearly, Jen, they're not going to be at full strength, and that's even if Jordan Love plays. I mean, they had a couple injuries coming out of the game. Evan Williams was ruled out pretty quickly with a hamstring. We all know how important he's been. Jair Alexander got hurt, I think, on one of the last plays of the game, or really late in the game, and we didn't get a chance to talk to him, so that's something that definitely needs to be followed up on today. The interesting thing is, though, even if they have all those guys, or most of the guys, or just Jordan Love, who's the most important guy probably, I got a sense in the locker room yesterday from some of the offensive guys that they feel like they did not perform very well on offense the last couple of weeks. And we can go back, to the Houston game where they had, 5 3-and-outs and 2 turnovers. There were some times in the game yesterday where they weren't very effective. Tucker Kraft and Elton Jenkins, I talked to both those guys after the game, and they both, if you wouldn't have known what the outcome of the game was, you might have thought that they would have lost the game. Now, after the end of it, I finally asked Tucker Kraft after kind of the group dispersed. I said, "What do you really think about this team?" And he said, "Look, maybe I was a little harsh. I do want to say that I think that we're playing well." This was interesting though. He said, the losing teams always say we're the best 2-6 football team in the league. He said, but I think we're the best 6-2 football team in the league.
He said that? Tucker Kraft said
I think we're the best 6-2 football team in the league.
Wow. That's
I don't know how many other teams are 6-2, Chewy. I guess I haven't looked at the standings, but I think he's just trying to say that I know we painted it out to be kind of an ugly game on offense, but in the end, we are 6-2 and in a pretty good spot.
With that being said, Rob, how would you rank the NFC North top to bottom?
I mean, after the 52 burger that the Lions put up yesterday, I'm sort of watching the score of that game as the Packers were sort of scuffling along, and it was like 20-17, and I kept thinking to myself, how in the world are the Packers going to keep up with these guys next week? Now, the Packers ended up putting up 30, and if you say, I'll give you 30 points on Sunday for the Packers, would you take that? I don't know. Is 30 enough to win next Sunday? Maybe, but I still think that the Lions are the class of it right now. But I think the Packers are probably 1B, especially considering Minnesota's on a little bit of a slide after their bye, and we all know what happened to Chicago. I'm sure you guys have talked about that at length this morning. So I do think the Packers are in a good spot. I do think they have a deep roster. And I do think they've shown they can win games in a variety of ways with a variety of different people.
Rob, why do you think they have gotten off to these slow starts? I know that was one of the things Tucker Kraft had talked about, and it seems like the only time they've gotten off to fast starts, it's been when Malik Willis started.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think they haven't found their rhythm in terms of the run-pass, mix. This offense, Matt LaFleur's offense, is predicated on the play-action stuff. Well, if you're not running the ball great early, it's hard to set that stuff up. Now, in the end, Josh Jacobs had great numbers yesterday. A lot of it, though, he got on his own. There was a lot. I think he averaged 3 yards after contact. I tweeted out this morning his highest of the season. And, I mean, he got, take the 38-yard touchdown run. Most of that was his own. That was all yards after contact. I just think that as a blocking unit, They need to get this thing a little bit, more solidified, and maybe that slow starts will, I think maybe they'll start a little faster.
Rob Demovsky hanging out with Jen, Gabe, and Chewy this morning on 94.5 ESPN Milwaukee. Do you think that 𝘾𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀 is getting the credit he deserves for putting all of these pieces together? I think Malik Willis, we were talking, who's been the most impactful. You could really make an argument for any of those guys. Xavier McKinney, Josh Jacobs, obviously McManus winning these last few games. Do you think that people are recognizing? And the question I asked the guys this morning, Rob, was, if he chooses to make a move or chooses not to make a move at the trade deadline to bolster the defense, do you give him the benefit of the doubt for all the success he has had over the last 365 days?
Jen, you must get the ESPN NFL Nation emails, because our assignment for the power rankings this week is the most impactful offseason addition that your team has made. And I'm having a hard time deciding between all those guys you mentioned. Ultimately, I think I'm going with Xavier McKinney, because he's totally transformed the mentality on defense and the takeaways. But I think, look, I mean, who's giving 𝘾𝙀𝙀𝙀 credit? I don't know. The national media never really talks about, the Packers front office guys. Look, I mean, none of those guys in the Packers front office have gotten interviews for GM jobs over the last couple of years. And you've got some qualified guys there in John Eric Sullivan, John Wojciechowski, Matt Malaspina. Milt Hendrickson. I'm sure I'm forgetting some of his top lieutenants, but it's amazing to me that nobody from the this GM and personnel department has really gotten any credit nationally. As far as the trade deadline goes, look, I mean, there's always a stunner, right? Him trading away Rasul Douglas was a stunner. Obviously, I don't think he's going to do anything, like that. I just think it's really going to be hard to add to this team. And my guess is that 𝘾𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀 thinks that they have enough, and that he has done enough, because he has done more than usual. And, unless there's a catastrophic injury in the next week, and maybe the Jair Alexander injury is bad, I don't know. I would be surprised if there's a move made. And I think that's fine. I think he's done everything that you could ask for a general manager to put his team in position with a deep, young, talented roster to make a run.
Rob, how was Josh Jacobs' ankle? I saw him hobbling around after the game, because if Malik Willis is going to play, they got to ride Jacobs again if they have any chance of winning.
Yeah, he definitely hobbled off, didn't finish the game. They went with Chris Brooks, who, by the way, should get a tip of the cap for the way he finished the game at the end. And smart play. Kid's never scored a touchdown, I don't think, in the NFL. At least he hasn't here, and certainly made the smart play by going down before the goal line. Jacobs didn't look overly serious, but anytime you have a leg injury for a running back, there's reason for concern. I think we'll have a better feel for that when we hear from Matt LaFleur later today. But you're absolutely right. I mean, if you're going to have to go with Malik Willis, you better have a fully loaded run game.
Rob, kind of going back to the Packers may or may not make a move before next week's trade deadline. Is part of that because the biggest weakness of this team is the front four, and it's just so hard to add guys from other teams at that position? Because to me, that was the reason that the Jacksonville Jaguars got back in the game yesterday, is because they cannot generate a traditional four-man pass rush with that front four.
Yeah, would they have one sack yesterday, I think? I think you're 100% right. And, just teams just don't give up great pass rushers. I mean, they just don't. You saw, Mark Davis, the Raiders owner, say we're not trading Max Crosby now or ever. He said we're not trading him now or trading him after the deadline. Well, you can't trade him after the deadline, so I'm not sure if he knows exactly how the league works. But no, I mean, there's just not. Even the Browns, right? Are they going to trade their guy? I'd be surprised. This isn't like, it's not like baseball in the NBA where you just, you clean house. You have to keep building in this league, and pass rushers are a premium, right? I mean, it's quarterback, cornerback, left tackle, pass rusher, right? Those are the premier positions, and I think it'd be really hard. The other thing, too, is they don't have I think they only have their own picks in the first 6 rounds, right? They don't. It's not like the years past where they've got extra 2s, extra 3s. They gave up the 7th for Willis, or did they get one back in there too? Maybe they got back something, but It's not like they're loaded with those Jets picks that they had and other picks that, the Rasul Douglas pick from Buffalo. So, and you know how much Goody loves those picks.
Any chance they trade anyone away? Any chance they I don't know. I've seen talk about Eric Stokes potentially. Preston Smith's name has been out there. Are you getting any vibe that they might make those? Yep, that's the other one.
Yeah, Andre Dillard, who I don't think he's played a snap yet on offense here. Was sort of an insurance signing for the swing tackle position. I honestly, I think it would be someone like that, a guy, who hasn't played, not somebody like Preston, who's played a ton of snaps. Although, I mean, certainly, there's where there's smoke, there's fire, and you've heard his name mentioned. But I mean, if you're not going to add a pass rusher, I don't see how trading away Preston helps you.
Were you surprised at the Bill Barnwell write-up on Josh Jacobs last week? I respect the hell out of Bill, obviously, as one of our colleagues, but it did feel a little disconnected from the value that Jacobs has brought, not just on the field, but to that locker room.
I think a couple things there, Jen. I think the headline didn't really match the story. There was a ESPN alert that said Packers not getting what they had expected out of Josh Jacobs. And if you read the story, that's not what the story said.
I'll tell you what, though, it got me to click on it. I'll tell you what, that thing flashed on my phone, and I was like, what the what? Click.
And that is not, that is not what Barnwell, I read it, and I saw the headline. I thought, does Bill Barnwell have a source in the building who says they're disappointed with Josh Jacobs? And really, it was Bill Barnwell's disappointed with Josh Jacobs, not that the Packers are disappointed with Josh Jacobs. So
and he was disappointed with Josh Jacobs because he's not Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Okay. If that's the standard, yes, I guess you could be disappointed. The guy's fourth in the league in rushing.
Yeah, I was going to say fourth in the league in rushing. And to me, the biggest thing about Josh Jacobs, and Chewy mentioned the injury, but to this point, he hasn't missed a game. Like they made the change from Aaron Jones because they thought Aaron Jones probably was not going to be able to play a whole season. And guess what? Aaron Jones has already missed the game, and Josh Jacobs has not to this point. So I think that's, it's not just the production, and the production is there. It's the reliability. The only thing that disappointed me, I guess, a little bit yesterday in the run game and in Jacobs, and maybe this is to the point that Tucker Kraft and Elton Jenkins were talking about, is that late in the game, that series where they could have put the game away. They ran twice, and Jacobs really didn't get a whole lot, and then they had to throw on third down and kick it away. So, that's that old 4-minute offense where you're trying to salt the game away. That's about, to me, the only thing that was missing from Josh Jacobs yesterday.
Well, to be fair, I also am disappointed that I'm not working with Chris Mad Dog Russo and Howard Stern over here. So I just wanted to put that out there. Gabe has been underwhelming when compared to Howard Stern and Chris Mad Dog Russo.
Rob, is Aaron Rodgers done? Will he retire, or we go somewhere else?
I want to know what happens when, and it's no longer an if. It's when the Jets finish with 5 or 6 wins. What happens? He is too proud to go out this way, don't you think, Chewy? And they're gonna clean house in New York, and maybe there's a team, and I would have to go through and think about who it is that would trade
Minnesota?
for him. I knew you were going to say that. So they got J.J. McCarthy waiting in the wings, and Sam Darnold's been pretty good. So no, I don't know. Is it like a Tennessee maybe that's desperate for? But would he want to go to a place like that?
I wouldn't think.
I struggle with the idea that he would go out this way, but I also can't comprehend any scenario in which he wants to come back to the Jets.
All right, Rob Demovsky.
What did I?
No, it's just I can't.
I'm a certain partner.
It's just it's not you, Rob. It's the absurdity of the entire situation. I think is what. No scenario where he wants to go back, and yet nobody wants him.
I just want maximum amount. I want maximum amount of drama. So wherever there's the most drama, that's where I want him to go.
Right now.
Yeah.
Rob, we appreciate you hanging out with us. Have a great one. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, see you next week.
All right, he's Rob Demovsky. You can, of course, follow him on socials, and you can read his stuff on ESPN.com. I got much covered. Your home, your future is our priority. Your home is more than just a house. It is your future. Great Midwest Bank prioritizes your dream, ensuring the mortgage process is smooth and stress-free. How many elements of buying a new home can you say that about? There's lots of stressors when you buy a home, but the mortgage should not be one of them. Apply for your home mortgage loan at Great Midwest Bank. You'll experience a state of banquility when you see how easy the process is. Guys, we used Great Midwest Bank when we bought our house, and they were fantastic to work with. If you go to their website, visit greatmidwestbank.com, they will show you what products they have for you.
More Jen, Gabe, and Chewy coming up on